Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is that you're joining us. Welcome to the Tulsa World Scene Zoom podcast, video slash whatever. I'm here with my colleague, the lovely and talented Jimmie Tramel. Our even lovelier and talented Miss Grace Wood was unable to be with us today, but she sends her kind regards to all of her faithful listeners slash viewers and wants you to know that she has a complete list of events surrounding the Juneteenth Festival in this week's Tulsa World. Juneteenth is when slaves in Texas on June 19th, 1865, were informed that they had been emancipated 2 years earlier. But the day has become quite a time of celebration in the African American community, and Tulsa does Juneteenth up very big, and you can read all about that in the Tulsa World, available at fine newsstands everywhere and at tulsaworld.com. She also has a story coming up Saturday about two Tulsa women that have created a pop-up shop specializing in vintage wares. Exactly what it is and where it is, you will need read Grace's story in the Tulsa World. Speaking of vintage, Jimmie, I think you are talking about something that is vintage that most people don't know about, but probably would want to.
I thought you were going to say that I was vintage. I mean, you threw me for a loop there, but
well, we are, but we won't go there at this particular.
I'm going to take you back to 1984, not George Orwell's 1984, a different 1984. It was a great year for Dwight Twilley because he had a band. Dwight Twilley, a power pop music artist from Tulsa, very well respected in that genre nationally. But 1984 was a great year for Dwight Twilley because he had a song, Girls, go top 20 in the Billboard Hot 100. He was an MTV darling. The song played on MTV, got airplay. And the stage was really set for whatever came next for Dwight Twilley after the song Girls on this album, Jungle. It was the environment was right for Dwight Twilley to really have a career-changing moment with whatever happened next. Well, I won't go into detail, but for reasons beyond his control, what happened next was his next album flew completely under the radar. Not his fault one bit. But 36 years later, another record label has embraced this album, his next album, Wild Dogs from 1986, and is reissuing it for the first time ever on CD. It'll be available next month, July 29th. And why would this record label want to do this, trot this out all these decades later? We'll talk to the president of the label for a Friday story about he really wants this Dwight Twilley album, Wild Dogs, to get the love that he thinks it deserves. He said, is it his best album? That's for other people to say, who knows? But he thinks it was his most consistent album, better even than Jungle, which was a top 40 album in 1984.
Does memory serve me right when I think that Tom Petty was involved in some way with maybe just the Girls single, but maybe the Jungle album as well?
Tom Petty sang backup on the Girls song that we just mentioned. And interesting, Kim Carnes from Betty Davis Eyes sang backup on one of the songs on the album that kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. That's coming out on Friday, you said?
Friday, correct.
Well, also in Friday's edition, we'll have a story about the latest local theater company to open in town. It's called Theater West. They are operating out of what used to be an activity center for a church. And in fact, the sign out front still says that it's a church-run, I think, daycare. But no, that is where Theater West is, and they are doing this is actually their second show. They're doing Noel Coward's Hay Fever, which is sort of a combination of comedy of manners and door slamming farce. It's a bunch of eccentric English people gathering for the weekend, and romance and misunderstanding ensue. They've done. They started out doing in January with the importance of being earnest, and they're trying to do a very family-friendly type of theater. And the board president and founder, Catherine Hall, has a whole lot of big plans for what she wants to do with the space, and they're bringing in. They've got this particular production of Hay Fever has people coming in from Muskogee and other places to act and work backstage and direct, and so they're getting quite a buzz, and we'll have information about that coming up this Friday. Sunday is Father's Day. Normally, I don't know that people take fathers out for dinner on Father's Day the way they take mothers out for dinner on Mother's Day, but we'll have a list of some things that some places where Father's Day specials are available. That'll be in Thursday. But since it is Father's Day, I think, Jimmy, I think you don't want to say much, but you do have something of a story for this Father's Day.
We will have a Father's Day story from a local father of three who lost his father a few years back, and hopefully it's a very touching story. I mean, I think it's a very important story to tell, but we'll put that out there Sunday and let people decide for themselves. But I think a young man in Tulsa has a great Father's Day story to tell. Hopefully, I don't mess it up, but I think he has a great Father's Day story to tell.
I'm sure you do a wonderful job, as you always do. Well, yeah, I'm lucky in that my father is still on the earth. In fact, today is June 15th. This is my parents' 65th anniversary. They are going to celebrate by sitting in their chairs and looking at each other, but they're still getting about. Speaking of being confined in small rooms, you're probably familiar with the whole escape room. I don't want to call it phenomenon, but they've become very popular, of people getting locked into spaces and trying to figure their way out. There is a new one that has opened just east of downtown on 6th Street called Novel Mysteries. It's the couple that run it. One is, perhaps not surprisingly, a private detective. The other is involved in the very high tech. Oh dear, the phrase escapes me. But his work is the sort of thing that make smart houses smarter. Very customized, high tech, high level automation. That's the word I was looking for. So they have collaborated, and their first setup, which is now open, is based on a book by, and this is why I call it Novel Mysteries, based on a novel by Mary Coley, who's a Tulsa writer, called Blood on Route 66, which last month won the Oklahoma Book Award for Best Novel of the Year. And it is set in a small town, fictional town, although there are clues where if you read the book, you can guess where she's talking about. Mm-hmm. But it's about one of the main settings is a diner, and the room has you trapped in two rooms in this establishment. And they walked me through it. It looks really simple. It's not. There's some really intriguing puzzles to solve, and we'll have all the information about that, as well as talk about Mary Coley and her books for this Sunday. Well, that's without grace to tease about not knowing all the things we vintage people know. That'll probably wrap things up for us this week. Have you got anything more, Jimmy?
We do have some Route 66 Road Fest information to share with people. Route 66 Road Fest starts in Oklahoma City this weekend with live music, classic cars, of course, and other attractions. And then it spills over into the following weekend in Tulsa at Expo Square. And so I had an interview with the Ventures, a rock and roll Hall of Fame band from the 1960s, the biggest selling instrumental rock band of all time. All their songs are instrumental. One of the guys in the band told me that if you ever heard them sing, you would know why they're instrumental, but they're very good at instrumental, obviously. So walk, don't run, if you get the pun or the hint, to Route 66 Road Fest next week. We'll have a story Wednesday.
And again, if memory serves me right, I think many of the original members, there were four, but I think at least two or three have Oklahoma roots. Their families went to California from Oklahoma, and their lead guitarist for many years was Noki Edwards, who I think was born in Oklahoma. And
now I've got to go rewrite the story. Here you go, changing the story.
Well, that gives you something to do this afternoon.
There you go.
All right. Well, take care. We will see you all later, and thanks for being with us, and we'll gladly see you later.
Behave.